Back in 2023, we installed this massive tennis court solar array. But as you know, we've had a few problems. We were given a huge 17 kilowatt export limit on this project, but the DNO made a mistake. The voltages were fluctuating all over the place, from 250, 260 volts all the way down to 210, 220 volts, and it was causing big problems for our customer. So we fitted this, a voltage optimizer, and I got called out in the comments by a lot of you saying, it's not gonna work, it's a bad idea, you're breaching regulations. And to be honest, you were right. When I did the first video revealing the issues that we were having at this property, a lot of you called me out in the comments and said, you've designed the system wrong, you should never have installed such a big solar PV system on a single phase supply, no wonder you're getting all of these voltage issues, etc. But the reality was that we had been given a 17 kilowatt export limit by the DNO. So from our point of view, they'd said it was okay to connect this system to the grid. And as we dug deeper, we found that actually UK Power Networks had made a mistake in their paperwork and they should have never given us such a high export limit. But the problem then stood as to, we've installed this very large and expensive system for our customer, we can't just rip it out. How do we get it working properly? And that's why we're here today. So we're upgrading this entire property to 3-phase, and that involves a ton of work. So we've got this single-phase consumer unit up here right now in the house. Not a huge amount of circuits, fortunately, but the tricky part about it is that this is the new 3-phase board. As you can see, it's quite big. There's no way that the cables from the existing board are going to be long enough, so we're going to have to use this extension box and then extend the cables from there down to this fuse box 3-phase distribution board. So this is the new 3-phase meter box that's going to go on the wall. It's quite a beast, actually. I didn't quite realise how huge these things are. So it's a surface mounted meter box, and essentially that is going to go on the wall here. We've got to mount this, and then there's what's called a hockey stick that's going to come out of this into the ground, and then a piece of duct. UK Power Networks have a very specific specification of duct that they use, so they've supplied that. We're going to put that into the hole over there, and that's going to be all ready for them to run their brand new 3-phase cable into here. This is the duct that UK Power Networks use. It's rigid duct, so it's quite hard to work with. But basically that is going to go from this hole here, and then they're going to do some molding. So they're actually going to mold from this hole all the way across under the block paving driveway, under a hedge to the road, and that's where they're then going to dig a trench back to the pole and run the new 3-phase supply all the way from the pole. I think they might have put in a new pole, actually. No, they've just taken all the ivy off, so you can see it was absolutely covered in ivy. So they've taken all of the ivy off and they've cleaned up the pole, which is really nice. And that's all prepped now and ready for a new 3-phase cable, which is going to come down here, and then they're going to dig a trench all the way along. And I think it's quite a big chunky cable that they've got to run in to about here. Then they do an underground joint here. I think it's like a 70mm cable that they run to here. Then they joint on with like 35, and from here they're going to mole through to that hole by the house where they're going to run into the meter box. So this is the solar setup. We've got 3 single-phase inverters, Solar Edge. I think there's 2 6 kilowatts and 1 5 kilowatt inverter, and each has got its own DC coupled battery. So each of these will be capable to push power out to one of the phases in the house, or pull power in to charge the batteries, which the customer often does in winter overnight to charge the batteries on the cheap rate electricity. And the system, because it was so powerful, was pushing power out to the grid and spiking up the grid voltage, and then it was causing the EV charger to trip out and lots of other potential issues. In the opposite way, when the customer was charging all the batteries up overnight and charging their car overnight, the voltage was actually dropping quite low. Because this long overhead supply running to this property all in one phase, it just couldn't handle those kind of amount of power fluctuations, which is why we're here sorting it all out.
Right, so yesterday built all of this ready to basically change the single phase garage board into this 3-phase board. It's not going to be 3-phase until I think it's Octopus or whoever supplier is coming out to finish their part, put in the meter and everything. So we'll just put a link out kit here, but I'm having to extend about half the circuits from that board over to here. I'm just in the middle of extending these battery circuits that go over to them Solar Edge batteries. Hopefully today it'll all be up and running.
So we've also had to fit a new 3-phase board in the house as well, and it's been quite a challenging job, hasn't it, Luke?
It has, yes. Because the original board sat up here, this is where the cables come through, along with the existing towers, as you can see. So what we did is we put in a Wago, it's like a relocation board, it's specifically designed for that. So we make all the connections in there, put some new singles in. We've used the existing towers at the moment because we haven't had the changeover from single phase to 3-phase. What we've got underneath here is a link out kit. So basically you just have your live and neutral in as normal, and then between L1, L2 and L3, there's basically just a buzz bar. It's quite simple, and it just links out all phases. So you can basically run it off as a single phase board, basically.
This is the challenging angle drilling. You know, normal artisan angle drilling is up to about 25mm. This is extreme artisan angle drilling, which is like, what is that, 40mm core bit or 50mm core bit?
It's 40mm, but it also needs to be at least 600 long because of the wall, the cavity, and then the external wall, and the angle we're going at. So that's the problem we had.
And I mean, to be fair, like we pretty much gave up on Monday and said, let's just clip it up on the outside. But because these guys are artisan trained, they went, no, let's try again and do something differently. And they've decided to get an extension bit and core drill through the wall. The idea is to clip that 4-core armoured up into the bottom of this board, right?
Yep, going to notch out a little hole in the back of this somewhere, obviously in line, and then come straight in the bottom.
So this is the new 25mm 4-core steel armoured cable that's going to feed that board in the house from a dedicated circuit in the garage board. All of this stuff is going to go eventually, but right now this single phase supply is still live, which is why we're running everything off single phase with 3-phase linking out kits, like Luke said. This box has got a switch fuse which currently feeds the garage, and what we're going to do is actually reuse that so that this switch fuse feeds the garage in single phase, and then everything from the garage out is going to be as new as 3-phase. So the 3-phase cable, all of the other boards are going to be basically finished, and that just means that when the new supply goes in, we can basically pull this out, connect in the new supply, and then everything will work on 3-phase. Now the amazing thing about all this is that UK Power Network's PR department reached out to us basically when I did the video showing this issue and kind of calling them out, and they said, what can we do to help? And since that moment, they've absolutely bent over backwards to help us get things right for this customer, including paying for this entire upgrade, the new 3-phase supply from them, and all of this upgrade work from us. So they've been really, really good. And I guess it's probably the power of social media, but also hats off to UK Power Networks that when mistakes are made, they do fix it. I've got to say I'm very much looking forward to ripping all of this stuff out because this is a very crowded meter box. So this is the current setup. You've got 100 amp fuse, right? Now with a 3-phase supply, you triple that up. So you go to 3 100 amp fuses, which essentially means you can have triple the amount of power that you can pull from the grid. This is the main isolator with a surge protection device that we put in to protect our entire system. And then currently, we didn't do this one, by the way, just so you know. Some other electricians came in and they ran in a new feed to the annex, which is the old pool house. You might remember the guys jumping in the pool when we did an EICR. Well, that pool has now been drained and removed and turned into a really beautiful annex. So that feeds that. So all of this is going to get ripped out. And basically, temporarily, we're just using this to run all the new stuff. And in about 2 weeks' time, Octopus are going to be coming in, putting a 3-phase meter in, and that's when we can do the switch over. The other cool thing about this 3-phase upgrade is it's going to enable 3-phase charging for the car. So this is a new 3-phase 𝐴𝐵. We're going to take out the old single-phase one and put a 3-phase one in, because the solar is going to be split across all 3 phases. That's really important. That's kind of why we're doing all of this. And that is going to mean that we need to be able to split the charging across the 3 phases as well, split all of the house loads across the 3 phases, so that the customer still fully benefits from their solar by having it spread across those 3 phases. So this is the feed to the annex, and it's going to need to be rerouted into that 3-phase board in the garage. So I'm just unclipping this. We're going to pull this out, and then we're going to run this across underground into the garage and re-terminate that into its own dedicated 63 amp circuit. By the way, what do you think to the new piece, the mid-season piece of the Artisan uniform, the gilet? Obviously styled by myself, not the top model at Artisan, somewhere in the 2 or 3 position probably. Let me know in the comments. But yeah, it's a nice little, it's nice and comfy, and I think they look really smart. So I'm just prepping to mount this on the wall. What I'm doing is going to cut a hole in the backboard here and through the back of the meter box into the wall, so that we can bring the tails through from the trunking from the distribution board through into the back of this meter box. I'm just trying to make sure everything lines up properly. Ruben's drilled a pilot hole here, so we're going to core drill through here, and then that will come straight through into the back of the meter box. Beautiful. So this is the Hilti 110 DD core drill, proper core drill, and we've got quite a lot of different range of core bits for this. I'm just using, I think it's like a 45 or a 42 on this one, just to get the tails through the wall. But I think it's the first time I've actually used it on the channel, so I want to show you guys how quick and easy it is to use. Oh yeah, thank you very much. That was lovely. So it's been a couple of weeks. UK Power Networks have been in and worked their magic. Let me show you the result. So here is our new 3-phase supply with smart meter. It's a really nice result actually. So we've got this new 3-phase head here with a big chunky supply cable, 300 amp fuses, and then Octopus have been in and fitted the smart meter, and for once they actually did it the first time round, because we've had so many people who've tried to get 3-phase smart meters installed and they send a single-phase meter fitter out. So well done for getting that right. We've got our main isolator switch here, and then these feed through to the new distribution board on the other side. Let me show you. So here in the main house, the 3-phase distribution board is all finished, and the power is now perfectly split across the 3 phases to make the best use of that solar energy and that new 100 amp 3-phase supply. Everything's been neatly tied in, and the old single-phase supply has been completely removed. So here in the garage, this is now the main distribution board. So the meter box is just on the opposite side there. And we got our main feed to the house coming from here. We've got a new 3-phase 𝐴𝐵 EV charger. We've got the SolarEdge mod bus and the 3 circuits for the 3 SolarEdge inverters. And then we've got the general power and lighting for the garage and the annex feed, all from this main board. And what we've done is we've future-proofed it by leaving plenty of spare ways so that the customer can add more stuff in here. He's talking about potentially a 3-phase lathe and things like that. That's the cool thing about going 3-phase, is it opens up all new possibilities for the kind of equipment that you can run, particularly 3-phase motors. And the customer's a bit of an avid DIY kind of carpenter kind of guy, so he's going to love to be able to use his 3-phase supply here in the garage. So this is the new 3-phase EV charger, which enables the customer to charge their car at 22 kilowatts, a lot faster. Again, another benefit to having the 3-phase. But the key thing here is it's going to enable them to absorb all of that excess solar energy from all 3 phases from the solar array and charge the car on pure sunshine. So when we were here last, all of this was dug up, obviously, to get the cabling in. There was mud everywhere. But since then, our groundworks team have been in and neatly relayed all of these slabs, repointed everything. So it's all back to being as good as new. There's just a few finishing touches left to do here because this afternoon, UKPN are going to be removing the old single phase supply. The old single phase meter is going to go. Then we can rip this meter box out off the wall. And our bricklayers team are going to come in and re-brick the wall and leave it looking like there was never a meter box there in the first place. So now that we've split the solar edge inverters across 3 phases, we just need to reconfigure the system so that it knows we've got a 3-phase Modbus meter and that each one of these is on their own individual phase now. And we're going to do that in the Solar Edge app. So that's it, we can finally put this voltage optimizer in the bin once and for all. Our customer's running on 3-phase and finally these voltage issues are solved. I hope you've enjoyed following this saga. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do because we've got loads of great content coming up for you guys and we'll see you on the next one.